Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Herbally-Inspired Summer Retreat. My name is Allison, and I am an herbalist and an ecologist and a wellness coach. And I am here to share with you. Oh, hold on. I'm getting an echo. Ecologist and a wellness. Let me close this down. I guess that's a good sign. It means. Oh, hold on. I'm getting an echo. Let me close this down. I guess that's a good sign. It means. Oh, hold on. I'm getting an echo. I've got too many instances of. I guess that's a good sign. It means. All right. I think we might be good. Instances of. All right. Stand by, everybody. All right. I think we might be good. Instances of. All right. There it is. All right. I had so many tabs open. I'm back. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Herbally-Inspired Summer Retreat. My name's Allison, and I'm an herbalist and an ecologist and an educator and a wellness coach. And I am really excited to be sharing this information with you this week as we are coming into the summer solstice tomorrow. And we are going to be kicking off a summer with some herbal information that's going to help you just keep your body in better shape, keep you sort of cleaner and healthier as we go through the summer. Now, I don't know about you, but summer is my absolute favorite season for obvious reasons. When you love plants, summer's the time when they're all out and about. And the importance, so what happens is we're outside all the time. And so we're exposed to different things. We always have different ways in which we're trying to protect ourselves and keep ourselves healthy. But there's a unique set of actions and things happening during the summer. So that's what I am here to share with you. How can we use herbal products to replace some of the, as you're going to find out today, pretty toxic products that we are buying off the shelf in our local drugstore. So many of you have probably been on my retreats before, and if you are watching live, please say hello in the comments. I see a few people already. Anne is here, and Mary Dorothy is here. Happy to be here. And greetings from the other Allison. Yes, we have an Allison fan club that has 2 Allisons in it so far. So I'm going to get started with some slides. And then, as you can see in the background here, I have some plants that I'm going to share with you that will help you stay healthier and happier this summer. So let me start with some slides. And welcome to the Herbally-Inspired Summer Retreat. And we are on day 1. I am so glad that you are all here joining me. And one of the things that I wanted to say is, if you are on Facebook and watching, if you have to let StreamYard, this program that I'm using, you have to let StreamYard, give StreamYard permission to show your name. Otherwise, I just see Facebook user. So feel free to put your name in so I know who you are, or to go to the link in Facebook that says streamyard.com/Facebook and put in your name. So if not, I'll just say hello, mystery person. So we're on day 1. And so I just want to get started with a couple of announcements before we really jump in. And oh, it's Jana. Hi, haven't seen you in a long time. Good. I'm glad you're here. So welcome. And there's our announcements. Is if you're in the Facebook group watching and you're commenting, just a quick reminder to be kind and courteous to other people. It's really can be such an incredibly supportive place for people to share their personal stories and their personal information. And so let's make it a supportive place to be. For the most part, I haven't had anybody in the, almost 2 years that I've been running these types of events. I haven't really had anybody that was not kind and courteous, but it's always helpful to remind you. And then I also wanted to remind you that you can join the Herbal VIH. Instead of the VIP, I'm calling it the Very Important Herbs. The after party for this particular week. And that starts right after this happens. And I have posted a link in the Facebook group. So you can go in there and click the link to join up. It's herbalsummerchallenge.com/summer-VIH. Hi, Linda. How are you? Good to see everybody. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can sign up to receive reminders and notifications. Just go to herbalsummerchallenge.com. If you're interested in getting like the, text reminders and things like that. And then the last thing is that I'll be giving away some prizes at the end of the week. And these are kind of like our deep dives, but I'm calling them Skin Deep in honor of our week of, mostly skincare, but some other things we'll be talking to as well. And you can post your answers either in the Facebook group or in the YouTube comments or in the Cultivated Life community if you're a member over there. And I'll be looking all those places to draw for these prizes. Now, I did this last year and I had, where did it go? I gave away this book here, the Pure Skincare. I bought this book to give away last year, and it was so awesome that I kept it. And then I bought another one for the person who won it last year. And this is just packed full of all kinds of incredible recipes for make your own skin cares, from washes and cleansers and masks and everything like that. And so as we're talking about skin this week, this is a great thing for you. And then the other prize I'll be giving away is a custom blended facial steam blend. So this is a blend of herbs that you can use for steaming your face and cleaning your pores. And it's a great thing to do. Maybe not, maybe once a month or something like that. So you'll receive a package of those. So that's our two prizes. And in order to be eligible for the prize, you have to post your takeaways from the day. And I'll share more about that at the end of today's session. Okay, so where are we here? Yes, I got thrown off at the beginning a little. All right, so as you may or may not know, if you've been on any of my retreats or thing, sometimes it's a retreat, sometimes it's a challenge, sometimes it's a masterclass. I like to use oracle cards to get a message to kind of help us really go a little bit deeper in thinking about our self-care and the things that we're learning this week. So I chose this deck here, the Flowers Oracle. And I love this because each one of the cards is a Bach flower essence plant, one of the plants. And Edward Bach was a flower essence, was kind of the modern day father of using the more energetic aspects of plants for helping us to heal. They work more on the mental, emotional, and soul levels of ourselves. We have multiple layers to us as humans. And so this moves beyond just the physical, chemical level of ourselves. So we're not really talking about flower essences that much in this retreat, because I do that in a different one that I do at different times in the year. But I did choose this. And so let's find out what our card is for today. So I always choose a card for the overview of the whole retreat. And that helps us to kind of think about, well, what am I looking, what should I be thinking about as I'm listening to the 3 days that we have together here? And the message was from Sanctuary, which is all of these are primarily native to England because that's where he lived. And this is, I'm actually growing a bunch of Bach flower essence plants this year, but they're about this big right now. So I figured I better give you a picture instead. But the Sanctuary plant, it helps us with a couple of things. It helps us to recognize that if we want to help others, it's best to do that from our inner strength. And then we need to have this healthy recognition of our own needs. And saying no, it helps us to say no when that's appropriate. Or possibly to say yes, as in say yes to ourselves. So this is kind of the idea of you can't pour from an empty cup. How are you caring for yourself and taking care of your own needs so that you can have this inner strength, and that allows you to really, give and shine your light out into the world. So we're kind of thinking about all of these things I'm going to be showing you this week are really important for your own physical health. And as most people, most women are, which is usually who's watching most of my retreats, they tend to be more giving and nurturing. That's sort of our feminine aspect of us. And so it's easy to care for others before we care for ourselves. So Sanctuary is reminding us you are important, and it's important to recognize your own needs. So why is this called the retreat? Well, when we're retreating, we're like kind of stepping back, and we are, in this case, we want to be able to relax. We want to be able to enjoy summer. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that everything that we're not being bothered by some of these common summer, I call them summer woes, or some of the issues that we see unique to summer. So hopefully you're here because that's also important to you, that you want to have more information for taking care of yourself. And so maybe you're doing good, but you just want to be proactive and make sure that you've got your herbal products ready to go for whatever it is that you are going to be doing this summer. Maybe you're here because you want to learn to avoid some of the toxic products that are on the shelves. You might need to make a change in some of your habits. And one of the other things I'll be showing you, especially if you're joining the VIH, the after party, we'll be talking more about creating some of our own products and being able to, like it says here, gain some self-reliance, be able to make your own things. Maybe you're one of these like creative types and you want to learn more about how can I, make my own bug spray, or how can I, stay away from some of these other like antibiotic ointments and things like that. You might be a gardener that's got just an abundance of plants in your yard and you love all the plants around you and you just want to know more about how you can use these plants for your own health and at the same time decrease your dependence on these kinds of manufactured products with ingredients that we're not even sure of, because a lot of times we don't even really know what is in those. And today, I hate to tell you, but I'm going to show you some of those products and just how nasty they are in order to convince you the importance of really going greener and literally by using plants instead. So thank you again for joining me here. I see Robin says she's looking forward to learning more about using herbs. I need help with keeping ticks off and what happens when you get tick bites. Yes, my family has gone through that this season already. So we will talk a little bit more about that later on. Now, let's see here. Okay. So we're on day one, and so I do a card specifically for today. So it's funny to me how these cards always seem to match perfectly, because I think the idea of recognizing your need for your own personal self-care is very important. And sure enough, that's what came up for this whole retreat. And then the card for just today is hornbeam. Hornbeam is a tree, and it has these long catkin-like flowers that hang down and bloom in the springtime. Most trees bloom before the leaves come out because they're wind pollinated. And hornbeam is about habits. And it's mostly about helping us to take a fresh approach to looking at our habits, realizing what is helping me and what can I do to sort of revitalize my energy so that I can live with more joy, because that's really kind of what we all want. So I thought this was perfect for today because we're going to be starting to talk about the ways in which we just get in the habit of using the same old stuff all the time. And I remember, this isn't about herbs specifically, but there was a, for years ago, Newman's Own brand of products came out, and they had these delicious, like fig Newton, all natural fig Newtons. They were so good. And so I checked the ingredients and I bought them, and I kept for a number of years. I would buy these every now and then. And then for some reason, a few years later, I checked the ingredients again, and they had completely changed what was in these cookies. And now there was one of these nasty oils in there and sugar instead of something. I don't even remember what it was. But at that point, I was like, wow, it was a really enlightening experience for me, because I realized, oh, we have to be vigilant, not paranoid, but vigilant about what is going on with the products that we're using. So let's take a look. What we're going to do today is take a look, kind of like, what are you using? What are your routines or habits? And do they need some freshening up? And I love this picture of this woman up in the corner, because she's got all these like jars full of herbal brewed up stuff. And that is exactly what my counters look like all the time. Maybe you need to just have some more downtime. I love this woman in the bath, making yourself an iced tea, getting out in the garden, incorporating herbs into your cooking, just whatever it might be. What kind of routines can you freshen up a little bit? So we're just an overview of what we're going to be doing this week. Today is day 1, and we're going to be sharing with you a little bit about the skin, because this is where a lot of these products go and which ingredients we want to avoid. And then I'll get into plants that we're using for wound care, because when we're outside a lot more, we're constantly, I don't know about you, I'm constantly like banging myself. I got bruises, scrapes, and Robin's talking about tick bites and things like that. On day 2, we'll be talking more about allergies and the plants that cause allergies. Why do we get why do we have those, and what causes that, and what plants are guilty and what plants are innocent? And then on day 3, we'll talk about skincare as an inside job, like how we're nourishing ourselves makes a big difference. Plants for cleaning, moisturizing, and nourishing our skin, topical things, and also some ways that we can keep cool in the heat of summer. Now, where I live, it is not warm. We are having a very slow, and I think it's the weather pattern for this year that's happening. So we haven't had a whole lot of heat yet, but I am looking forward to it when it does finally hit. And so this is perfect, because by the time it does get hot and we are spending more time outside, you'll have some really good ideas of what you can use in order to keep your skin healthy. So let's talk a little bit about our skin. It is our largest organ. And I know it sounds weird at first. It's not an organ. It's, it's this layer, but it is a type of organ for our body. And it's obviously a sense organ. We can feel temperature and texture, pressure, pain, and pleasure. And it is very, very sensitive to all of the things around us. And in fact, if you've ever been into one of my like come back to the senses or soothing the senses retreat that I did, talk a lot about our senses and how important it is that we don't feel everything, or we would be going crazy, right? The skin also has its own immune function. Think about it. How easy is it for your skin to be exposed to anything foreign? Yes, we breathe things in, but we're compared to our mouth, our skin is huge, and there's constantly things getting on our skin that it is taking care of. It has its own little monitoring molecules or whatever they're called that go out and kind of gobble up some of these potentially dangerous things that get onto our skin, germs and bacteria and whatnot. And before it ever gets inside, it covers and protects all of our other organs. It releases a lot of toxins and heat through perspiration. So if you're one of these people who's still using antiperspirant, you might want to really think about having this be one of the first things you get rid of. And it's very likely, I'm going to show you a list of ingredients here in a minute that you want to avoid. And it's likely that a lot of those are in antiperspirants. Now, one of my sons became very sensitive to antiperspirants. He would get a huge rash, like all underneath his underarm. And he had to try a bunch of different kinds, and it went away for a while and it came back. And this just goes to show that the stuff that we're putting in, I think he was mostly using antiperspirants and not deodorants. The stuff we're putting into our products are definitely giving us a reaction. Now, we may not have that substantial of a reaction, but still these are affecting us. So the skin is also where vitamin D is synthesized for our body. How many of you are taking a vitamin D supplement because your doctor's telling you, you don't have enough? And yet we're putting sunblock on and blocking off our abilities to synthesize vitamin D. We'll talk about more about that on day 3. But it also contains melanin, which determines not only the color of your skin, but it also is very protective to the UV rays. So we want to keep our skin super healthy, and we can do that by avoiding a lot of these toxic chemicals. And here is a list. These are things that go onto our skin that shouldn't. And you'll probably recognize some of them, but some of them you probably never even heard of these things before. Isopropyl alcohol is not the same as ethanol, which is the alcohol that we drink to feel better, but it's rubbing alcohol. Mineral oil. I'll give you some details on that later. These other products, if you are watching on a phone or with a phone and you can take a picture of this, I suggest that you copy this slide and keep it in your phone. And next time you go to buy some type of personal care product, just double check the label and try to eliminate these if you can. Now, most of us are pretty aware about the color, FD&C colors. There's a lot of evidence that shows that contributes a lot to kids, ADHD and things like that. And the most one that I want to point out to you is down here. I've got it bolded: fragrance. So how many times have you just seen the word fragrance, which is just a generic term for up to 4,000 separate ingredients? So who knows what that could be? Fragrance, unless it says what it actually is, like lavender or something, could be something that you react to. So you just don't know. And so you want to just be cautious and be observant of what you're putting on your skin. So I'm going to just go over a couple of these because I want to share with you just things that we think might be okay, but truthfully, they're not. So rubbing alcohol is found in all kinds of things: hair color rinses, body rubs, hand lotions, aftershave. It's a petroleum derivative. It's also used in antifreeze and shellac, and it can cause headaches or dizziness, nausea, vomiting, and all these things. Now, most of us are not just slathering ourselves with isopropyl alcohol. But what happens with a lot of these products is that we get a toxic load. So we may not be using one product a lot, but we might have it in a bunch of different things so that it's all kind of accumulating, all of these different chemicals. Most women use between 300 and 400 different ingredients on their body every day, between your shampoo and your lotion and your makeup and your hair conditioner and your toothpaste and all of these things. So we do want to just be really aware of what exactly it is that we are putting on our skin. So isopropyl alcohol is a big one. And the other one is mineral oil. Now, mineral oil, well, it's got minerals in it, right? And it's what baby oil is made out of. So it's got to be safe because we put it on babies. And the truth is, this is a petroleum product as well. And what happens is when we put that on our skin, it basically coats it and almost like we're putting plastic wrap on our skin. And this messes with the immune barrier that I was talking about earlier. It inhibits our ability to breathe, absorb natural moisture, and to give off our perspiration and release toxins. And then the last one says it slows down skin function and cell development, causing premature aging. And let's face it, none of us need that, right? We're all perfectly happy to stay as young and vital as possible. So mineral oil is a big one to avoid. And the last one is this polyethylene glycol, which is in, again, a lot of things, but it's used to make cleansers that dissolve oil and grease. So if we're using products that are helping us to clean our skin, hair products, aftershave, deodorants, all of these things, we could very well have polyethylene glycol in it. And what happens is if you were working with this, now we're not getting straight concentrated polyethylene glycol, but if you were, you would have, a respirator and gloves and all of the protective clothing to work with this. And in a laboratory setting, there are things called the material safety data sheet, this MSDS down here at the bottom, which basically tells you how dangerous a particular chemical is. And this is just showing that it causes brain, liver, and kidney abnormalities. So we just do not need to be putting on these things on our skin. And part of the issue with skin is, first of all, it's big, right? So we've got a lot of surface area. And when we use a product, a lot of that goes, we're using a lot of it. And the second thing is that the skin is porous, right? It's absorbing whatever we put on it. And so we really want to be mindful of what we put onto our skin. All right, I got one more. I got a quiz for you now. Guess this product. Here's our active ingredients. 3 things that you have no idea what they are. And then the inactive ingredients, which is denatured alcohol, which I believe is a different type of alcohol from isopropyl, isobutane. Butane is what they use in lighters. All of these other sort of anything with a YL on the end is a type of a sort of an alcohol type of a thing. The only thing there's that fragrance, one of 4,000 possibilities, and then tocopherol acetate is the only thing I recognize, which is vitamin E derivative. So would you drink this? What do you think this is? Put in the chat if you're watching live. What do you think this product is? It's very common and used a lot during the summer. Take a guess. Robin says lotion. You're close. Yes, someone else is saying sunscreen. Yes, this is sunscreen because those are the common active ingredients, or the common ones that we use in sunscreen. So on day 3, I'll be talking about how we can protect ourselves from the sun without having to use a lot of these ingredients. All right. Oh, Linda's saying, back to, yeah. Linda's saying she can't use sunscreen, so she just has to stay inside. And she lives in Texas, so it gets hot down there, getting closer to the equator. Yeah, so we really have to be mindful of all of these products. I actually went to buy some sunscreen earlier this year, and I started looking at the ingredients. I'm like, I can't buy this. And I ended up getting actually one of the sunscreens. We'll talk about it more, but you can get more the mineral sunscreens that have like the white stuff, like the zinc sunscreen that you see, you know, the lifeguard at the beach has the white all over their nose. Those tend to be a little bit safer. So my suggestion is that let's get help from our plant friends instead. So as I was saying earlier, today we're going to be talking about wound healing, and then we'll get into allergies tomorrow, and then more like topical skincare on day 3, which is the 22nd. So let's get help from our plant friends instead, and let's see if we recognize any of the plants on here. I'll be talking about a few of these today, and then if you're in the VIH, you will we'll be going in depth more on some of these and how they're used that I just don't have time for during this main part of the session. So if you're looking at this from we're going to go counterclockwise in the left there with the orange flowers. That's jewel weed, which is a common weed around where I live. Bottom left is plantain. In the middle, we've got yellow dock, sometimes known as curly dock. Bottom right is comfrey. Top right is lavender. And then our white flower here for today is yarrow. And I'll be sharing a couple of those with you right now. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. And let's get into some of the, get off those slides, and let's just talk about some of our plant friends. Let me know if any of these things are ringing true for you, if you've had any experiences with trying to find some kind of products that aren't loaded up with tons of chemicals. And the reality is that it's hard to find. And so that's why I like to teach people how to make their own herbal products. Now, starting next week, I'm opening up my course, Herbal Concoctions, as part of this, what I'm calling the Herbal Summer Bundle. So if that's something of interest to you, then stick around and I'll be sharing more about, I'm not going to tell you much about it today, but that is going to be starting next week. The Herbal Concoctions, where I teach you how to make all of these things that you need for what I'm showing you this week. So what should we start with? Let's start with, and I have this great picture and I forgot to put it into my slideshow. So I will share it on Facebook or in the community. Or if you got my most recent email, which most of you probably have, you would have seen a picture of me and the plant that saved me from stress and duress last summer. And that plant is the beautiful, the one and only amazing weed plantain. Now, this is a broadleaf plantain, and it is identified. It's kind of wet because I didn't want it to wilt before the show started. It is identifiable by these parallel veins on the back of it, and also the fact that it grows everywhere in your lawn. And there's another one that's about the same size that you usually see. Or if it's growing in your lawn, you might see something that looks like this. And in fact, 10 minutes before this started, I heard my husband start up the lawnmower. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't you know you're not allowed to mow the lawn before I can go out and harvest what I need out of it? He's used to me by now, though. It's like, you cannot mow the lawn until I go out there. So this is plantain. And then this is my prize plantain, because I always let a few, this is dripping water all over my table. I always let a few grow in my garden, so I have a nice, big, huge leaf available. Now, someone was asking about tick bites, And plantain, while not specifically touted as being used for tick bites, the reason why plantain is such a wonderful plant is because it's very drying. So it is used for any type of sting. It's even used for snake bites. It's been used for snake bites. And I believe it could probably be used for a tick bite as well. Now, what it does is it has an action that when it's placed on the location of the bite, it will draw out the venom that's inside the bite. Now, you could use it for something else that you might want to draw out. I've seen a story in Kat Mayer's book, Energetic Herbalism, where someone had I think it was like a big, not a fishing hook, but like a big needle of some sort that got jabbed up into their foot. And like they were going to have to do surgery. And so they spent like 2 or 3 days just with this person with their foot in a plantain poultice after poultice. And they used some other things, I think slippery elm maybe, and got the needle to come out of the foot. And so it's pretty amazing. I have used it many times for bee stings. And if you're on my email list, I told the story about how last summer I was picking blueberries and I got stung literally right on the nose by a yellow jacket. And I'm running around, I need plantain. And luckily my friend Lucy was with me, and she, when you hang out with me for long enough, you learn these things, right? She's like, here's some. And I'm like, it's sticking on my nose. And I got this like green thing. It was, it was pretty, it was a little traumatic, but by the end of the day, I really didn't have any type of, I had a little, you could tell I'd been stung, but it wasn't swollen. It wasn't red, all of those things, because I had been able to take action on it right away. And so it's a really important herb to know how to identify. So when you're out and about, you can find some plantain and just stick it on whatever sting you get, hopefully not on the tip of your nose. But now, what do you do if it's some time of year and it's, winter and you have something and you need to have it drying? Well, this is why one of the things I like to teach people is how to make an herbal oil. Now, this is not the same as an essential oil. This is a herbally infused oil. And in fact, what did I do with it? I have an herbal oil started right here. This is not plantain. I haven't started my plantain oil yet for this year. But this is some dandelion flower that I have just in some combination of usually olive. Well, this one's in olive and almond oil. It's about ready to be filtered. But then I'm extracting the properties into the oil, and I can simply use that whenever I need need it quickly, if it's not the right time of season for these plants to be alive. So that's why creating your own herbal products is so important, so that you have access to them all year around. So let's see here. What else do I want to tell you? Oh, yes. So the nickname for plantain is the Band-Aid plant, because it can be used for all kinds of things like that. And again, it can be, you would make, if it was really bad, like here, you just basically chew it up and you put it on your bee sting, and then you put a Band-Aid over it and just kind of hold the green chewed up leaf onto your, onto where the sting is. But you can also use some other things to make more of a paste out of it if you really have a lot of poisons that you need to draw out. It also can help you to regenerate the tissue as well. So not only is it pulling out the poison, it can help you regenerate the tissues where the damage was done as well. And it does have some other properties. You can use it internally. You can make a tea out of it, and it helps because it's very soothing and mucilaginous. It can help to soothe your digestive tract. And plantain seed is what they make Metamucil out of. So that's, if you've ever had to take that for constipation or any other, I don't know what else you would use it for. I think it's the only thing it's used for. It's not the same species as what we see growing here. But I also wanted to share with you, speaking of species, that there is also a narrow leaf plantain. And again, these are identified by the parallel veins on the back. Let's see, can you see that? Okay, it's not coming up quite as obvious, but those parallel veins on the back like that, that is not very many leaves have that type of veination on the back. So that's a nice way to identify it. Okay. So you could, again, if you don't, you could always make a salve or make an oil, and then you have that available for yourself any time of year. Okay, let's move on to our next plant of the day, which is, I had to bring this in because I cut which is comfrey. So I cut this little comfrey branch, and I thought, well, that's not really representative of comfrey. This is representative of comfrey. This is one stem off of one of the plants that I have out in my garden, and they've got so heavy, they all fell over, and this one kind of cracked off. But you can see the size. Ooh, see how stringy that is. The size of the leaves can vary anywhere from this size to that size there. It's very rough on the surface. So you would think, well, that wouldn't feel very good on my skin if I had some kind of injury. But what happens is when you chop it up, you can chop it up and make it into a poultice, which is basically putting a paste on something. But you can also just make a tea out of it, and you can use it as a wash. Now, one of the main things about comfrey is that it's really good at wound healing, at closing up wounds. And so it can actually be not recommended if you have a deep wound, because you want the wound to heal kind of from the inside out. You don't want to be closing up the surface before the wound has a chance to heal up. But it can be used as a wash. It can be used just as a general skin toner, and in that way. Someone is asking, is that English plantain? Are you talking about the narrow leaf plantain? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, they grow all around the world. I don't know about where. I know the broadleaf plantain, sometimes known as common plantain. There's a bunch of different species of it. The broadleaf plantain was brought from Europe by settlers that came over here. But I'm not sure about the English plantain. Sorry, I don't know that. Let me see here. Let's see if I can tell you some more about comfrey. Yeah, so the other things is that it, like I said, it will close up your wounds quickly. And the other thing that it can be used for is that if you have something that's for ulcers, it can help with, if you have like a bleeding ulcer and something that's kind of slowly bleeding or seeping, the comfrey can help with that as well. So comfrey is a great thing to have for wound healing. It also has a lot of other uses. It does come with a warning because they've discovered there are some compounds in comfrey that you shouldn't take comfrey if you have any kind of liver stress or liver conditions, because they're just stressful for the liver to process. And if your liver's already stressed and not working well, you don't want to be adding some of these compounds in and making it even more difficult. And let's see here. Yeah. You can also use it for burns, bruises, and even for breast soreness, like mastitis, if you had that. Now, again, it's kind of rough to the touch, so you would really want to roll it or boil it up and make sure that it was had been soothed down a little bit. Now, our third plant, there's a lot of plants I could talk about, but we just don't have time here. We'll go into these more in the next session. Our third plant, I was just recently so grateful to go to the International Herb Symposium, which happens just to be in Massachusetts, about 2-hour drive from where I live. And I was so amazed to see all of the amazing teachers that I have learned from, either on YouTube, I've taken their courses online, I've read all their books, and here were all these people in person. It was just so awesome. And I really felt like I was in with my people. I loved it. And I took a intensive with Matthew Wood. If you've seen any of my shows, you know, I'm always referring to his books because he's such an incredible researcher and so good at putting together information. And he started off talking about wound healing. And he said, there's only 3 herbs that you need to have, you know, for like herbal first aid: yarrow, Solomon seal root, and whatever else you want, which I thought was hilarious. I would pick plantain. And the reason why he chose yarrow is multifold. This is yarrow. This is your typical height of yarrow. These are some that I cut off a little bit shorter. And this, where I live, this is blooming quite profusely around everywhere. And it is time to be harvested. Now, when we harvest the flowering tops. That includes the leaves. And there was a woman in the seminar that was talking about, because he said, share your experiences because it's always really helpful to everybody. And she was talking about one day when her boys, which she didn't say how old they were, but I think we were talking like 5 to 9 years old, somewhere in there. One of them somehow tripped or something and split open his lip. And the dad was like, we got to go to the emergency room. And she's like, no, let's put some yarrow on it. And they took the yarrow and placed it on there and kept it on there for a day or two. And it literally pulled the split lip back together. And when it finally healed, there was no scar. It was pretty impressive. Now, yarrow is not only good for healing wounds, but what its specialty is working with the blood. It moves and circulates the blood where it needs to go. That means yarrow is also incredibly good for helping you with bruising. Now, there are other bruise herbs as well, but in general, yarrow is one that you can go to. And for that, you would probably use, you could use yarrow as the herb, or you could use an yarrow salve. And the salve is just an infused oil, like I showed you before, mixed with beeswax, or you can use other things like cocoa butter or things like that to make it thick so it actually spreads on your skin easier, not trying to like pour in oil on yourself. But the distinguishing feature of yarrow, now, if I just showed you this flower, it's very similar to a lot of other types of flower, this kind of umbrella-shaped white flower, including poison hemlock and some of these other things that we do not want to be harvesting. So the beautiful thing about yarrow for identification purposes is that its botanical name is Achillea millefolium. And millefolium means a million leaves. So if you look at this is a huge one that was growing more in the shade. Usually they're more this size, but you can see how many little leaflets. And doesn't look like there's not a million leaves, 1,000 leaves. Okay, that's a little bit better. 1,000 leaves, milli for like a milliliter, right? 1,000 leaves. So that is a distinguishing feature of yarrow. So you're harvesting the right thing, because there's not many other plants, almost no other plants that have that really deeply cut kind of leaf like that. So you can harvest that. You can harvest the leaf, and you can harvest the flower and make it into a salve. And you can also just dry the flower, and you will then have the flower available for when you get ill and you're having fevers and you need to move that blood around and cool yourself off. So yarrow is a fantastic, really important herb to have in the herbalist toolkit for summer and all year round, but now is the time of year when you need to be harvesting it. Now, there are yarrows that are more like horticultural varieties, but the white yarrow is the medicinal one, so it's just going to have a little bit more potency to it. If you have those other yarrows growing in your yard, then you should absolutely harvest those instead. All right. We are coming down to the end of our time here. And so I want to share this beautiful quote from the one and only grandmother of modern herbalism, Rosemary Gladstar. And she was at the conference. She gave like a keynote speech. She started the International Herbal Conference. She started United Plant Savers, which is the medicinal herb saving, that saves medicinal herbs and like endangered medicinal herbs. She's just amazing. And she's talking to basically, I'll just read this to you real quick to close. So there's no great secret to good health. Despite the bombardment of advertising from the health and beauty industries that offers an instant pill or cure-all for the woes and illnesses of life, good health is, in truth, the practice of living healthfully each and every day. You cannot get energy, health, and vitality from a pill or even from a cup of herbal tea. Everyday radiant well-being in mind, body, and soul is a function of everyday self-care. Exactly what we're talking about here, taking care of ourselves every day. It's a prescription for life. It is part of what you do, what you take into your body, and what you feed your mind. Very important. So eat good food, explore your passions, get up from your chair, wiggle, play hard, rest well, put your mind to work, and laugh. And Rosemary Gladstar has got one of the best laughs you will ever hear. She is just such an incredibly beautiful person. So with that, I want to close by letting you know that I am going to be offering this course. It's opening up next week, and I'll tell you more about it tomorrow and Thursday. Herbal Concoctions, which is part of the summer bundle. And then I want to give you a job to do if you'd like to be interested into the prize drawing. So we're calling our challenges for this week Going Skin Deep, or More Than Skin Deep. And so it's basically examining, what are your rituals and what are you doing? And do you actually take time for self-care? What products are you putting on your skin? And can you eliminate the dangerous ingredients? Like I said, if you didn't get a chance, go back in and take a picture of that slide. I'm sure there's more ingredients than those, but those are kind of the top ones you want to avoid. And go check your bathroom cabinets and see, do you have something that you probably should throw out? Are your products safe? So you can post what you find in the Facebook group if you're in there, or if you're not, you can go to the Cultivated Life community and post. It looks like most of the people watching live now are watching from Facebook, so that's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and put I'll put this little image into the Facebook group, and you can post below there. So thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you all tomorrow at the same time for day 2. We'll be talking about allergies. And so have a great night, everybody, and get out in the garden and go see if you can find yourself some plantain in your lawn. All right. It's a good one to identify. Thanks, everyone, and have a great night. Bye-bye.